Every day, millions of students step into massive coaching hubs where they spend the next 10 to 12 hours grinding through practice tests. The national hope is that this intense pressure is the necessary price for forging the next generation of world-class researchers and foundational thinkers. Real scientific thinking uses first principles, breaking complex phenomena into their most basic axioms and building logical solutions upward. But the competitive exam system sweeps that process away. It prioritizes second principle heuristics, teaching students to apply memorized shortcuts to find answers as quickly as possible. In this environment, the pursuit of ranks and the promise of a stable salary have pushed scientific curiosity to the sidelines. Science is no longer an inquiry into the unknown. It is a rigid set of rules to be executed under fear of failure. A nation optimized for speed and obedience risks falling into an innovation deficit. While it may produce millions of graduates for the global market, the fundamental breakthroughs, the kind that change history, continue to happen elsewhere. To understand why this system operates the way it does, we have to look at the historical divergence between two different branches of knowledge: pure science, which is the pursuit of truth, and applied science, which is the pursuit of utility. Pure science is driven by motives internal to the practice: truth, demonstration, and conceptual consistency. It asks basic questions about how the universe works, often requiring decades of experimentation with no guarantee of a marketable product. Applied science and engineering operate under different constraints. They use existing scientific information to develop practical, real-world solutions. They are focused on social utility, process optimization, and economic profit. Because the modern global market values immediate results, it has reshaped education to mass-produce applied technicians. These are workers trained to optimize existing systems rather than invent entirely new ones. Under this logic, the competitive entrance exam isn't really a test of scientific potential. It is an extreme filtering mechanism designed to identify who can handle the grueling pace of the modern corporate machine. A multi-billion-dollar coaching industry now weaponizes this demand. These centers treat science as a catalog of finished products, formulas and reactions to be memorized, rather than an active process of discovery. When a student's entire socioeconomic future depends on a single high-stakes testing day, the psychological room for risk and failure disappears. If you aren't allowed to fail, you aren't allowed to experiment. This creates a wall between the sciences and the humanities. Yet, many historical breakthroughs were made by interdisciplinary minds who saw science as a form of natural philosophy, a quest that was as much about meaning and ethics as it was about math. The result is what professors at elite institutes call knowledge debt. They find that even top-scoring students often struggle with the most basic scientific proofs because their foundation was built on analogies and shortcuts rather than first principles. By rewarding pattern matching over deep questioning, the system risks extinguishing the very inquisitiveness required to sustain a world-class research culture. With national R&D spending stagnant at around 0.64% of GDP, the brightest researchers often look abroad. They aren't just seeking better pay. They are seeking institutions where the funding matches the long timelines that fundamental discovery demands. This contrasts sharply with global models that prioritize holistic development. In systems like Finland's, standardized testing is almost entirely absent until late adolescence. Those models operate on the principle that young minds need unstructured time to play and fail. While a high-pressure environment can force-feed information, it is the flexible, curiosity-driven approach that teaches a student how to think. Reforming this doesn't mean just changing the exams. It means shifting the systemic reward from the speed of answering to the depth of questioning. It requires a system that values the inquiry as much as the result. We are currently training millions of workers for the global economy, but we are neglecting the minds needed to invent the future. The next time you sit down to study, ask yourself, are you training to execute someone else's template, or are you learning to discover something for yourself?